Hey guys, Kevin here. This video will serve as a basic installation guide for the HID projector portion of your headlight build. Now, regardless if you have a Grand Marquis, a Crown Vic, a Marauder, or a Town Car, and whether or not you have halos, demon eyes, or any other accent LEDs, the installation for the high and low beam functionality is going to be the same or similar enough that this video should help you breeze through that portion of the installation. Now, included in your package, you obviously are going to receive the headlight assemblies themselves. Now, your HID components may look different than what's displayed in this video, but the installation and connections are going to be very much the same or similar. Now, in this case, we have a bi-xenon harness by Morimoto, where you see a silver relay and a blue connector. Yours might be black and black. It does not matter. The connections are going to be the same or very similar that this video should still help you out. You're also going to receive 2 HID ballasts, whether they come in an unmarked box like this or a box by Acme or Morimoto. The installation is still very much the same. Now, whether or not you have the screw-on igniter or you have a ballast that has the igniter built in, you'll see that all of the connections right here, the male and female amp connections, are always going to be the same where they connect to the bulb. So even though yours may or may not have this screw-on type igniter, it will always connect the same way. Now, assuming that your vehicle has its battery in the factory location, majority of this install and the majority of these parts, including the wires, are going to live behind the passenger side headlight. What you're going to do after you remove your headlight assemblies and get ready for installation of your new ones, you're going to unravel and unpack the Morimoto bi-xenon harness. Now, all of the connections are labeled. This is completely plug and play, no cutting, no splicing, or anything involved. Now, like I mentioned before, you may have a black clip, but if you have the blue one or the black clip that is not labeled, this is your OEM input. This is going to get plugged in behind the passenger side headlight where your headlight is currently plugged into. The bulb on the driver's side will not be plugged in, and that will not be used for this installation. Next, you will see there is a connection here labeled Battery Plus. This gets powered to your positive terminal of the battery. There are 2 ground minus connections. This can either go to the negative terminal of the battery, or it can get grounded to a bolt or screw that's attached to bare metal. There are 2 other connections labeled here, 1 high beam and 1 ballast. Now, the high beam is going to be the thin 2-wire connector coming out of the back of the headlight. Polarity does not matter on the high beam connector. It can get plugged in either orientation. The last connection you're going to make from the harness is the one that is labeled ballast. Okay? That will get plugged into the ballast, obviously. Now, in this case, we're using a Hilux ballast. Yours may be Morimoto. This is a ballast that I use for stage 2 and stage 3, just depending on availability, so yours might be slightly different. But you'll see that in this case, for Hilux, the ballast will get plugged into the only 2-pin 9005 or 6 connector. And you'll see, it's a little hard to tell on this video, but it is stamped with a plus and minus sign. So orientation does in fact matter. Make sure the plus sign is aligned with the blue or red, I assume, depending on which harness you have, will get plugged into that orientation. The Hilux ballast does need to be grounded, so this blue wire coming out of the bottom of the error canceller, this blue wire should be grounded, which you can do to, like I said, the negative terminal of the battery or any bolt or screw that's attached to bare metal. The very last and final connection you're going to make is from the igniter. Now, as I mentioned before, in the Hilux case, the igniter is attached to the ballast already. You may have the igniter from Morimoto that will get connected to the battery, or that will get connected to the ballast, and then you'll have a screw-on type that goes to the back of the bulb, which you put on, and then it's a quarter turn to lock it in. But as I mentioned, the connections are exactly the same. So you'll take, in this case, the Hilux igniter with the male and female amp connectors and plug it into the back of the bulb in the male and female amp connectors that come out the rear of the headlight. And that is literally it. At this point, I would turn on your headlight switch and make sure that your high and low beam are working properly. You will hear the high beam solenoid activate on and off with an audible click, so that way you know if they're working or not. So at this point, the installation is complete and you will want to aim and adjust them. So please see the next video for that.